Hello there, my name's Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing YouTube channel. And if you've been here for a second, you will know that I am on a mission to help you to be more successful in your business. Now, the way I can help you to be more successful in your business is by giving you everything you could possibly need to know about your sales and your marketing. My reckoning is if your sales and marketing's working, then you will have money to fix all of the things that aren't working in your business that I know absolutely nothing about. So I'm here giving you everything I know about sales and marketing. I'm pulling in anyone I can find with experience to support you to be successful in your business in the Talk Marketing series. We are bringing you the marketing news, and we are reacting to the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet, which is what today is about. So today I will be reacting to a piece of content somewhere on the internet about marketing. Now, there is an element of jeopardy to this because I'm not deciding what it is that I will be looking at. Clay has already put together the Clay list, which has a number of anonymous links. So I am going into this entirely blind. Let's have a look and see what Clay has for us today. So Clay has been busy. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 links. And I don't know what any of them are, so I'm going to go in the middle. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go in the middle. I'm going to copy this, and I am going to post that into, you can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to post that into YouTube, and we are going to see what comes up. Okay, and what has come up is
with nearly 30,000 cafes across the globe,
Starbucks
has
became
become
an
more than just a
$80 billion
household name.
company.
From its iconic
Okay, so let's just stop that there. Okay, so do I have a view on Starbucks? I don't particularly have a view on Starbucks. I'll be very honest with you. I'm not a coffee drinker. I haven't drunk coffee, I think, for about 15, 16, maybe 17 years. I think maybe it was 2005 that I stopped drinking coffee. Maybe it was 2006, completely by accident. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the idea that I was a coffee drinker. What happened is I did a bike ride, and there was a huge queue for coffee on the first day, so I skipped it on the morning of the first day, and then there was a similar size queue on the second day and on the third day, and then by the time I was caffeine clean for 3 days, I no longer felt the urge to be enjoying coffee. So I'm not a coffee drinker, so Starbucks isn't a coffee thing for me. I have a mate, he quite often likes to meet at Starbucks, and I'll have a whatever chocolate, something, hot chocolate, maybe mushrooms. I don't know. I quite like Starbucks. I'm thinking now about the reference to, there was a reference to this in, what was the gangster thing, where the Italians, oh my God, what was it called? The gangster series. Oh my God, how's my mind? Maybe it will come to me. Anyway, they were decrying the fact that they were Italians, they make coffee. Starbucks are selling everything that the Italians sell. Why aren't they doing it and making all the money? So that's it. I don't really have a strong opinion on Starbucks, but Starbucks are an $80 billion business. So it might be interesting to find out how Starbucks became an $80 billion business. Let's check it out.
the globe, Starbucks has become more than just a house.
All right, let's start from
With
the
nearly
beginning.
30,000 cafes across the globe, Starbucks has become more than just a household name. From its iconic cups, often adorned with misspelled names, to the espresso inside them, Starbucks has catapulted from one coffee bean shop in Seattle to a sprawling $80 billion business over the last 47 years. Starbucks sales account for 57% of the total cafe market. Yes, 57%. Nearly
These brands are just eating it up, aren't they? How can, so more than 1 in 2 of all cafe business is Starbucks. Yo.
2/3 of all coffee sold at cafes in the US comes from a Starbucks. But this impressive expansion hasn't come without growing pains. With more than 14,000 locations in the US alone, Starbucks has spread itself too thin. Having too many stores has led to fewer transactions at individual stores. To compensate, the company has raised prices. But doing this too quickly or too often can drive customers away. So how did this happen?
Right, so pricing is really important, obviously. I spoke last week on the WTF series about pricing, how important that is. And if you're increasing your prices, people don't like it. They really don't like it. And I think coffee is actually one of those things. What do I want to say? Is it overpriced, or does it just have a huge margin? It has a huge margin. I think they make these coffees for literally maybe 10%. I've got to stop saying literally. They make these coffees for about 10% of the price that they charge. So hugely profitable business. Obviously, that's not the total cost. There's going to be rents, etc., etc. They're on high streets, staff, etc. But interesting.
And what's a coffee giant to do about it? The year is 1970. 3 college friends, Zev Siegel, Jerry Baldwin, and Gordon Boker, decide to get into the coffee business.
Great names, by the way. Zev Siegel, Jerry Baldwin, and Gordon Boker. I hope they look like this.
Found a mentor in Alfred Peet, founder of Peet's Coffee, and the man responsible for bringing custom coffee roasting to the U.S.
He knew the coffee industry inside and out, especially the gourmet end. He was the most educated coffee guy in the country at that time.
So with Peet's help, the 3 friends opened Starbucks, a coffee bean shop and roastery at Seattle's famous Pike Place Market in 1971. Peet provided the young entrepreneurs with
51 years ago. When did they actually break through, though? I will see.
Roasted coffee beans and connected them with coffee brokers until they could set up their own roastery and source their own beans. For the first decade, the founders opened 5 more locations in Seattle. At this point, contemporary coffee consumers might have noticed a glaring absence: actual coffee drinks. But that's the thing about the 70s coffee culture. It didn't really exist outside the home.
There were no coffee bars, nor was there much of a demand for espresso-based drinks. You purchased coffee beans and you either took them home as beans or we ground them for you in the store. Nobody expected to get a beverage at a Starbucks coffee store until after 1980.
Okay, so I didn't know that. I remember when coffee beans became a thing, coffee percolators became a thing. I used to have to go out on a Saturday morning and buy fresh coffee, not for my consumption, but yeah, so that was when was that? The late 70s. So there's some innovation here. I didn't realize there was some innovation here. I thought, I wonder if there were coffee shops in, what about the 60s coffee shops? Or were they milk bars? Who knows?
Starbucks' initial focus was bringing high-quality beans to consumers who were more accustomed to instant or canned coffee. But that changed with the addition of one man.
The company hired its first really professional director of marketing and sales, and that man was Howard Schultz. And he couldn't figure out why we weren't selling beverages.
In 1983, Schultz travels to Italy and returns with an idea: turn the coffee bean stores into cafes. Starbucks served its first latte the next year.
So they're in business 10 years, 12 years before they even become a coffee shop. So they were a coffee bean store for 12 years before they were even a coffee shop.
Experiment was a success, and 4 years later, Schultz...
And coffee shops, that was what I was thinking. Coffee shops were existing in Italy. Okay.
Partnered with investors and bought Starbucks for $3.8 million. He was only 34 at the time. Schultz pursued a strategy of aggressive expansion. By the time the company went public in 1992, it had 165 stores. By 1996, it had opened more than 1,000 locations, including its first international cafes in Japan and Singapore. Growth was so rapid that just 3 years later, Starbucks opened its 2,000th location.
Once they found a business model that worked, that translated to other geographies, that gave them the opportunity to really accelerate growth, really put the pedal to the metal in terms of expanding across the globe.
Schultz switched from CEO to executive chairman in 2000, at which time Starbucks operated 3,500 stores in more than a dozen countries. Between 2000 and 2007, the number of Starbucks cafes more than quadrupled, from 3,500 to over 15,000. During this period, the company opened an average of 1,500 stores every year, including 2,500 in 2007 alone. Sales shot up from $2 billion to $9.4 billion. Consumers were increasingly ditching their kitchen mugs for these iconic paper-to-go cups.
Wow, 9.4 billion is so much money. Like, for one company to make, it's so much money. And if I'm right, like, it's 10% of the costs. I'm not right. You know, there's costs, there's rents, there's staff, there's, I don't know, uniforms, there's more costs. But it is a profitable business. I wonder if they're going to tell us.
But then Starbucks hit a wall. The 2007 financial crash. That year, its rapid growth screeched to a halt, and its stock price plummeted by 50% as cash-strapped consumers backed away from pricey coffee habits.
The Great Recession was devastating for the restaurant industry. What we typically saw was more trading out, so consumers
I love this music.
taking a pause on that everyday luxury that Starbucks offered.
So Starbucks brought back Howard Schultz. This news alone caused Starbucks stock to shoot up by 9%. Schultz halted growth and focused on customer experience. He shuttered cafes, more than 600 in 2008 and another 300 in 2009, and laid off around 6,700 baristas. A month after his return, Schultz ordered Starbucks to close all of its U.S. locations for one afternoon, so he could retrain more than 135,000 baristas about how to make its signature espresso. Schultz's goal was to remind customers what they loved about the brand by making the stores an experience, not just a place to get a quick coffee. They stopped selling breakfast sandwiches and brought back in-house grinding, infusing the cafes once again with that fresh coffee aroma. Schultz even mandated the removal of automatic espresso machines. These made service faster but removed much of the romance and theater of watching baristas craft each cup of coffee. Schultz's makeover worked. The company's stock soared more than 143% in 2009, and same-store sales rebounded. Starbucks has posted positive same-store sales ever since. During Schultz's makeover of the cafes, Starbucks barely opened any new stores, but the pace picked up again in 2012. By 2017, Starbucks opened nearly 3,000 more locations.
Right, so interesting really interesting, because the temptation might be to say, okay, there's a recession. People aren't looking for a luxury quality experience, a luxury coffee experience, because, things are tight. The temptation would be to say, okay, let's reduce the cost of these things. Let's make it much cheaper to go out for a Starbucks coffee. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that at all. And how insane that one person can turn around a juggernaut like this. I'm not a huge corporation fan. I suppose with 30,000 branches, they have to be a corporation. Yeah, wow. So what does he actually do? What he actually does was
35,000 baristas about how to laid off around. Schultz halted growth and focused on customer experience.
Stop growth, focus on customer experience. Genius.
He shuttered cafes, more than 600 in 2008,
Closed down cafes, 600.
and another 300 in 2009, and laid off around 6,700 baristas.
Fired 6,700 baristas.
A month after his return, Schultz ordered Starbucks to close all of its U.S. locations for one afternoon, so he could retrain more than 135,000 baristas about how to make its signature espresso.
Wow, so it goes back to the thing, back to training, investing in the staff, 6,700, 137,000. So he laid off like 5%, less than 5%.
Schultz's goal was to remind customers what they loved about the brand by making the stores an experience, not just a place to get a quick coffee.
Customer experience, always value for the customer.
They stopped selling breakfast sandwiches and brought back in-house grinding,
Focus.
infusing the cafes once again with that fresh coffee aroma. Schultz even mandated the removal of automatic espresso machines. These made service faster but removed much of the romance and theater of watching baristas craft each cup of coffee. Schultz's makeover worked. The company's stock soared more than 143% in 2009.
That's a graph, isn't it? Look at that. All the way down, all the way back up. One guy did
And
that.
same-store sales rebounded. Starbucks has posted positive same-store sales ever since. During Schultz's makeover of the cafes, Starbucks barely opened any new stores, but the pace picked up again in 2012. By 2017, Starbucks opened nearly 3,000 more locations, ending the year with 28,000 cafes around the world. However, this brings us back to the first problem, profit cannibalization. Oversaturation, particularly in urban locations, has spread sales thin. Because Starbucks has so many locations, customers don't have to be loyal to just one. So even if Starbucks...
Are they actually in competition with each other? I don't know if they're like franchises, are they? Are Starbucks franchises?
overall sales are growing, its individual same-store sales won't reflect it. Compounding this problem are changing consumer preferences. People are shying away from sugar-laden calorie bombs, which happens to be one of Starbucks' staples. These signature Frappuccinos contain an average of 57 grams of sugar. That's more than double the recommended daily limit of sugar. So to combat these problems, Starbucks is changing once again. The company announced the closure of 150 stores in 2019. That may seem like a drop in the bucket for a sprawling company like Starbucks, but it's 3 times the number of stores it usually closes each year. The company will still open stores, but future growth will be more focused. Additionally, decadent drinks topped with whipped cream are taking a back seat. Instead, the company is pushing lighter drinks like cold brew and its fruity refreshers. The company also plans to roll out delivery to a quarter of its company-owned stores by the middle of 2019. Perhaps the company's biggest undertaking is its new line of upscale stores, Starbucks Reserve Roasteries. These massive 20,000 square foot stores are designed to be a tourist destination. Here, Starbucks baristas and bartenders experiment with different brewing methods and craft new, innovative beverages. These have proven popular. In the first weeks, the Shanghai Roastery made an average of $64,000 every day, which is double what a regular cafe makes in a week. The company has opened 4 roasteries so far, with plans for 2 more.
It doesn't look and feel like anything else that Starbucks has. Those are the kind of experiential stores, the high-end experience stores that consumers are really looking for. But I think what's going to be more interesting coming out of that is the halo effect that puts the brand in a higher light among consumers. Yeah, that's pretty meaningful.
Okay, good. What do I think? What do I think? I think it's us against the corporations. That's what I think. I think if Starbucks is taking 57% of all cafe sales globally, $90 billion, then they're taking too much. You know, I'm not a franchise fan. I don't know if this is a franchise model. Maybe I should Google that. Is Starbucks a franchise? So I don't like the whatfranchise.com. It is a franchise. I like character. I like individuality. I like, that's what I like. So if I go to a coffee shop, I'd like to see the personality of the person who drives that business. That's what I want to see. I want to see small businesses being really successful. I want to see small businesses supporting families and supporting economic growth in the way that only small businesses do. So Starbucks is the enemy, I think, of every coffee shop probably in the world now. I don't know. So I don't like that. What I really enjoy, though, is one guy doing that. One guy comes in, changes it, growth goes incredible, he steps back, it goes on for another 3, 4, 5 years, there is a global economic crash, he steps back in, does the most sensible things, goes back to the basics, doesn't do the most obvious thing, which is reduce the prices, but actually goes back to customer experience, turns it around completely. That is hugely useful. In this week's marketing news, Mel and I were talking about, Mel's suggestion was, we should look at these big brands and what they do, because they're spending millions and probably billions of dollars in their marketing, and then they are presenting the results. So the reason I'm watching these videos and taking value from these videos is because this is really useful for us. We should...
with nearly 30,000 cafes across the globe.
Marketing, that's what we should do. If we want to be good at marketing, we should be looking at what happens in marketing and taking the lessons. I don't really know the lesson here. The lesson, it's not obvious what they've done. Yeah, I mean, apart from it's all about customer experience, so maybe it is obvious what they've done. That's the lesson, customer experience. Don't, when things get tough, reduce your prices. Go back to basics. Focus on customer experience. Focus on quality. Focus on what's performing well in your business. Cut out anything that's not performing well in your business. This is how you come through like a crisis. So let's have a look. That's what what do I think? Yeah, that's what I think. Let's have a look at what they are saying in the comments. I'm not going to subscribe to CNBC. I don't like that media channel, corporation. Howard Schultz is a really successful businessman. By this video's description, he sounds like the Steve Jobs of coffee, turning a coffee shop into a cafe experience and charging a whole lot more for it. Yeah, 100%. CNBC completely neglected the fact that Starbucks is not just a coffee business, it's a real estate business. Look at all the property they own. Even if they close down stores, those property values had probably shot up in the past 40 years. Of course they have, and this is what they say about McDonald's, isn't it? It's like that piece of real estate on every corner in America has value in it. I'm so glad to have found local cafes in my area. Those have been a game changer for me in the world of coffee. Coffee for me isn't just some caffeine drink that you dump cream and sugar into. It is an art as well as a science. I think that's what I think. And there is something about being a coffee aficionado, and like there is the opportunity in a coffee shop for a business owner to really pour their personality into those coffees. Thank you for the video, guys. I'm in love with the concept. Earlier, I was thinking that the coffee is overpriced, but apparently, after comparing with other coffee shops, I figured out that the price includes not only a huge cup of delicious coffee, but at the same time, the rent of the table and chair where you may stay for 3 to 5 hours, and no one will tell you a word. As a freelancer, I'm choosing Starbucks for the atmosphere. I don't know if I would with Starbucks atmosphere. In addition to that, I've read a book called How Starbucks Fought for Its Life Without Losing Its Soul. Highly recommend it to everyone. It's a remarkable story revealing how, during one of the most tumultuous economic periods in American history, Starbucks again achieved profitability and sustainability without sacrificing humanity. That's good. I find it difficult to criticize Starbucks because they are more generous to their employees than most of any other comparable company I personally know of. Plus, their employees do not seem overly stressed. In fact, the opposite. They appear to have fun and enjoy their job, while at the same time, they do a great job. Starbucks trains all their employees. That's too much for me to read. Overpriced coffee, that's how Starbucks works. I don't know. Do I care? I do kind of care. Do I care? It's a really interesting story. Personally, I would like to see many more successful, locally run and owned coffee shops. That's what I would like to see. I think in coffee, there's a real opportunity for the business owner, like I say, to put their personality into that business and make it a really nice and interesting experience for their customers. If they take good care of their staff, I've never particularly, maybe I have seen staff having fun in a Starbucks. If they take good care of their staff, I'm all for that. It's a really interesting story, clearly a very successful business, down to one guy. Is it the case, I wonder, that actually these individuals, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, this guy, are really having this big an impact on businesses? What does that say about the business landscape if you're not that kind of personality, or if that kind of personality is going to swallow up so much of the opportunity? It says something, and I think it's interesting, and it's worth, which is why I'm enjoying watching these videos, understanding these personalities and understanding how they go about their business, because maybe if you were to go about your business in the same way, you would be ever so slightly more successful, and that's what I really want for you. Thank you for being here this time. I look forward to seeing you next time. Of course, I won't see you next time, but you'll see me, you lucky sausages.